guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I got a very interesting email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's in his late 50s. He is a mechanic, grease monkey if you will. And he's writing in to give a very, very good and educational dose of reality to all the guys out there about his experience with female nature. And of course, how things are today. Now you're probably thinking, what does he know? Well, let me tell you, this guy, unless he's a great storyteller, and I believe he's being honest here in his experiences, back in the day would partake in activities that a lot of you aren't going to like, including me. This guy was a regular player in his 20s. He was one of these guys that just women liked, and he took full advantage of it by hooking up with all sorts of women, including married women in his 20s. Now, eventually he stops that and just sticks to single gals, but obviously in his 20s, for whatever reason, and he learned through experience the really ugly side of female nature. Obviously, because all these gals were cheating with him and all that. And so he's going to go into this whole thing, sharing different stories, things he's learned over the decades, both obviously first with the married ones and then the single ones, that back up pretty much everything I talk about in this channel. And I thought it'd be a very good one to go over here. Even though a lot of you aren't going to like him, or like the things he says, believe me, there are things to learn. This will reinforce, because the things he talks about is by and large everything I talk about. And this will, I guarantee, if you're a guy who watches this and you have gone your own way, no longer interested in relationships, dating at all, this will reinforce exactly why you're doing this. No joke. For the guys out there that want to be pickup artists, just bang chicks, love them and leave them, well, you'll learn some things that'll help you on your quest. Everybody else in the middle, you know, you guys that want to have relationships and everything, kids or family, but you obviously want to learn this. This will help you as well. So there's a lot of good stuff here. But like I said, be aware, I'm just preparing you now, that a lot of the things he talks about, and things he says about women, and things that guys need to understand, it's a tough pill to swallow. But it will definitely, you'll walk out of here in half an hour wiser. And you're going to look at things a little differently after hearing this, not just from me saying it. So, oh, and by the way, guys, I've been saying for the last month, if you're not on X or Twitter, if you are on X or Twitter, come check me out. SSM channels it is, trying to help promote the channel, because over here on YouTube they're not promoting as much. So even if you're not on there, even if you hate Elon, fine, that's okay. Still sign up anyway. It helps me out and can spread the word. So definitely a lot of guys are signing up and we're having a good time over there. So again, check me on X. SSM channels is the handle. It says, hello SSM. I'd like to say up front that you're not going to like me. I'm that guy that you regularly criticize on your show. Well, I don't like some of the choices you've made, that's for sure. However, no hard feelings otherwise. And a lot of the things you talk about, things you discovered in your youth and as an adult, definitely are helpful and will help guys out here. And that's why I'm sharing the story. He says, I'm known as a grease monkey in my community. A few weeks ago, I found a 1963 Ford Thunderbird in a barn and had it towed to my shop. Cool. I was listening to a video on the physics and of climatology of the Ice Age, and after the video, I had my hands elbow deep in the car, so when your video of some loser's wife cheated on him with a young coworker while on a business trip came up, I liked the way you presented your story, so I started listening to your channel, and was completely disgusted, not by you, but by the women and men's nature. Well, welcome to my world. I've been knee deep in this for 5 years. Yeah. There are a few things I must explain before I launch into my message. I'm in my late 50s and started working on things in the 70s with my dad, who was also a grease monkey. He was a good man and taught me how to fix things, just about anything actually, but more so taught me about human nature. If all of us could have fathers and uncles and male influences that teach us reality and human nature when we're young, what a different world this would be. My dad tried in many ways, and some things sunk in when I was young, but a lot of it went one ear out the other because I didn't want to hear it. In high school, I was pretty much a C student, and everyone thought I was stupid, but the real story is that I was smarter than just about every kid in school. I saw that our education system is no more than herding cattle through a 12-year system that teaches girls to be selfish and men to be low testosterone simps who just obey. Pretty much. This is why if I was a father, I would homeschool my kids. Or I had the funds to do so, pay for a private tutor that could, between me and the tutor, could help them, because I would not have them in not even the private school system way things are nowadays. Coloring outside the box was strictly prohibited. I was considered the dumb bad kid because I did not follow the rules. I rarely did my homework, spoke up in class when the teacher was speaking bullshit. One of those, huh? Well, you know what? Sadly, you got to keep your mouth shut in school and not interrupt the teacher, but it's so tempting when they're speaking bullshit. And a lot of things they say are bullshit. And a lot of the teachers shouldn't be teaching. I got failing grades on homework and class participation. I figured they got me for 6 to 8 hours a day, and the rest of the day was mine, not theirs. That said, I did ace the test. Most of the other kids were consumed with getting into a good college. They blindly followed the rules, colored inside the box with the correct colors, metaphorically. I saw college as just the next step to the slaughterhouse of the soul. Going to a soul-crushing 9 to 5, getting up, driving to a building that you hate, doing something you hate with people you hate. You get 1 week a year to live the life that you really want, and at age 65, you get to stop going to that soul-crushing job, but by then you're fat and unhealthy. For 40 years, they come home and sit in front of the TV eating processed packaged poison that they sell at the grocery store. Yep, that's pretty much how I see things and have seen things for a long time, as well as a lot of you guys out there. Yeah, there's just so many unhappy people in this world by what you just said right there. And it goes both ways, men and women. But I'm trying to help guys do something about it. I'm not really a rebel. I prefer to think for myself as a smart guy who really sees the reality in life. Well, that pretty much makes you a rebel, dude. People still think I'm dumb, and I prefer to be that way. Being considered the dumb grease monkey helps me avoid a lot of accountability and blame. When people don't expect much from you, it's easy to meet their expectations. I don't have a TV, and I haven't watched it in probably 15 years. Really? 15 years? Even just with streaming that you can pick and choose what you want? I'm single and no kids, maybe. At least none I claim or support. After coming home from my shop, I read books. So on to my story. So guys, yeah, if you're still here after a few minutes here, we're getting into it. And believe me, like I said, this guy's going to give a major hard pill to swallow on female nature here. But it's important that you all hear and listen to this, because I agree pretty much with everything he says. And this stuff's not going to sound that surprising to you. Well, my story is this. I well know my community as the guy on the spectrum, but can fix anything, and thus far I haven't found anything I could not fix. It's not that hard. You simply follow the energy that come in limitless forms. You have input and a process that takes you to the end product. You simply follow the energy in whatever form through the process and figure out where the energy is disrupted. In my youth, my dad got cancer, and I had to take over his shop. He was a longtime smoker and drinker. I do neither. While working on a car, a super hot Asian gal came in to ask if I could do some repairs on her car. So this is the moment our guy turns to the dark side. Leave it to a smoking hot Asian chick. I said sure, and we walked to her car for a quick diagnosis. All the while, I was professional and did not check her out, her rack or her ass, at least that she saw. She said to me that her husband was not good with his hands, and without looking at her, I said, what a shame. She smiled, and I think she got my joke. I still did not do or say anything that validated her. She kept brushing up against me, and I thought it was strange, but I ignored it. So right there, married woman, rubbing up against you. Obviously, you can tell you liked her. I mean, you could tell she liked you, that type of thing. I told my dad about it that evening, and he said she was trying to sex me up. I was confused and did not understand. A few days later, she came back to pick up the car wearing Daisy Dukes and a crop top. How interesting. She's back, except now dressing with more revealing clothing. Gee, I wonder why. As a young bucking bronc, Mr. Woody showed up. I moved close to her to introduce him to her backside. She sort of melted in my arms. I gave her a rack, a good feeling, and she turned around and without warning, kissed me. We had a wild time in the backseat of her car. Now, some people are like, this is bullshit. He's just trying to sound cool. Guys, crazier things have happened. And like I said, our guy here became a professional scumbag. The type of guy that all the girls want and many sadly cheat with and all that. Right here. This is a guy that understands human nature, female nature, and doesn't give a shit. And you'll see very soon he has their number. He says, sure, give me smacks for doing a married woman, but this was my first real life lesson about female nature, and things my dad told me started to make sense. I was 20 and she was 27. Yeah, smack for doing a married woman. Look, man, at the end of the day, think about it. What did that husband do to you? Nothing. Nothing at all. And you can say, well, she was going to cheat anyway. Might as well have been me. Well, guess what? We can have a code here, guys. That's what I want to have. But I'm doing the story again to share his experience so guys understand this. I've been always considered a good-looking dumb guy. I was slightly above average in a certain statistic, but not huge. This woman would regularly bring me home-cooked meals. She made up things to bring me to fix and overpaid for the repairs. I did not give a flying fuck about this woman's feelings or emotions. All I cared about was her hot body and getting what I wanted. Right there. He was 20 years old. And yeah, you were 20, but still, I'm sure you could have got chicks that weren't married. But right there, he didn't validate her, he didn't treat her very well, but she kept coming back for more. We would usually meet in my shop or a hotel that she paid for. I made this woman howl every time. Well, you were a young guy, so full of young, dumb, and full of cum. I hit it hard and fast, blah, 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 and our activities became more frequent, and I simply didn't care about her or her husband. I tore my ACL playing sandlot football, but after the surgery, she took me home to her house with her husband and nursed me back to health. Took you back to her house with her husband? What do you mean by that? You had no home, nowhere to live, and, oh, this young guy works in the shop, needs a place to live. Is that what was being said? Her idiot husband suspected nothing. When he went to work, she rode me like a cowboy on a bull at the rodeo. It's amazing you're alive, and somebody didn't show up at your shop and blow your brains out. Well, she started getting very clingy, and one day said she wanted to divorce her husband and marry me. Oh, joy. So she could eventually cheat on you one day? She would get half of everything, and she would give it to me. I was only 20 years old, but no fool. If she would cheat on her husband, she would cheat on me. I had no feelings for her, I just wanted to take her to the town. I ended the relationship and heard that she got knocked up by a football player at the local college. See? She's going to move on to somebody else to cheat with. Apparently she told her friends about me, and I went through all of them too, married and single. I simply did not care. They told their girlfriends, but never their husbands or boyfriends. See, what he says right here, how many times have you heard the stories and situations or known guys like this that the girls claim they hate the players and the bad boys, but guess what? They're lined up to sleep with them. And if one girl, the social proof that he gets from the one, all of a sudden all her friends are also lining because they want a piece of it too. Right here. Apparently I read this part. I didn't care about any of their feelings. I made it clear that I was not a relationship kind of guy, but I would fuck their brains out and made them scream. Yeah. Right there. You made it clear, not relationship. One of the best things you can say to attract a woman nowadays is simply, look, not interested in a relationship. All of a sudden, boom, challenge. Or they're thinking, oh, okay, this is a guy I can have fun with. He's not going to get clingy to me. If I give you details, you'll probably think that this is a penthouse letters forum, but I could have pretty much any gal I wanted to at the time. We don't need that. We don't need the details, dude. We're here for the lessons, the hard to swallow pill lessons, which we'll be getting to soon. Well, in the early 2000s, I began slowing down and being more selective. No more married women. Good. So at least you were doing all this bullshit, at least when you were really young, primarily in your 20s. But still, I'm amazed you're alive today. Now it's mainly college gals and 20-somethings who, by coincidence, generally have daddy issues. Hey, plenty do. Here's what I've learned. First, let me say, when you're dealing with human nature, nothing is ever 100%, one way or another, all the time. Nearly all women are mentally unstable. Well, you're preaching to the choir here. The need for validation takes precedence over everything. He put everything in capital letters. When they are craving validation and attention, facts, reality, reason, and morals mean absolutely nothing to them. To them, telling a lie is justified. The men they most want are the ones they don't have, no matter what they say. See? Nothing's more attractive to a woman than a guy that's taken. Lust is monumentally more powerful than love. I know you say women who cheat don't love their husbands. Hard to say for sure, but I was with countless women who seriously loved their husband, but with me, it was purely physical with no love or emotions in play. Dude, they didn't love their husband. First of all, women are not capable of the same type of love that men have. No fucking way. It's not even close, okay? They can have attachments. They can, a guy can have their mind, their soul, but in terms of like the same type of love guys have, fuck no. There's no unconditional love with women. We all fucking know it. It says, I would guarantee them orgasms and sometimes more. These women would do whatever they had to do or tell any lie needed to get that. He says, the truth is, women have no idea what love is. What I just say. They are like a child seeking shiny, pretty objects, and oh my god, they're easy to manipulate. Just tell them what they want to hear, and the magic bullet is to ignore them and treat them poorly. If you can blow their backs out in the bedroom and then make them chase you, hence by treating them poorly, being indifferent, amazing how it works. I noticed this shit happened decades ago, no different today. He says, you treat women poorly and make them howl in the bed, and she's yours forever. You can ignore her, call her names, push her around, take advantage of her, and she will tell you that she hates you and never wants to see you again. But give her a week or so to cool off and send her a text with compliments about her body, and she'll be riding the bull that day or the next. Right there. It's the fucking truth. How many of you guys have been that guy, either now or in your past, because I've done it and I regret it to this day, when I didn't know any better, who would have these girls come to them and talk about their problems, talk about other guys, and you're thinking, yeah, if I just listen and pretend to care and show I'm such a nice guy, that they'll leave that guy they're complaining about. And guess what happens? They go right back to him, even though he's treating her like shit and he's a scumbag. Guys like this. And you're there like, what happened? The movie said I'm supposed to get the girl. Yeah, I was that guy in my teens and 20s, guys. I learned the hard way. Being the guy that they go to and complain about other guys never gets the girl. Ever. And this is why you don't feel bad for them. When they whine and complain about the jerks and the bad boys, and yet keep going back to them, and they say there's no good men out there, never feel bad for them. Ever. I don't care if it's your sister, or your daughter even, or granddaughter, or niece. They're wired the same, guys. He says, when you make a woman scream while banging the headboard, that women they'll protect you from just about anything and walk through a wall for you. There have been a few husbands who found out that a wifey was cheating, but they never dropped a dime on me. I'm suspicious that there are a few men out there raising my kids, but I don't know for sure. Smack! You know you're a scumbag, dude, or at least younger you were a scumbag. It sounds like you stopped banging married chicks by the time you got to your 30s, and that's good to hear, but still. What's done is done back then, but that ain't cool. He says if she gets knocked up and ends contact with you for a year or so, then texts or calls you, it's a pretty good guess that the acting father is not the daddy. He says, I heard a quote somewhere that is straight up truth. She's not yours, she's just yours for now. Sums it up. Women back in the day were not quite the women they are today. They're still wired just the same back then. It's just easier to cheat nowadays, dude. Sure, female nature has never changed, and cheating on their hubby is by no means a new thing. That said, since the 80s, women have been taught the boss babe nonsense since kindergarten. All this has done is create a generation of selfish, narcissistic women with no moral values or accountability. Sure, they may feel guilt from time to time, but they get over it quickly. Right there. Exactly. And again, this is why you don't feel bad for them. I don't think modern women are capable of real, authentic love. It's about drama, excitement, and feeling good. Right. And who brings them drama? Who brings them excitement? Who makes them feel good? The bad boy. The guy that doesn't give a shit about them. The guy that's unpredictable. They never know where they stand with them. Do you think the nice guy that tells them how he feels and shows up with flowers and chocolates and chases after them and does all these things that the movies say, does that give them the excitement of, drama and feeling good? No. They're bored by that guy. Feeling good releases a number of chemicals and hormones in the brain that becomes addictive. This ultimately destroys their life just like a junkie. All women are insecure. Yes, I said nothing is ever 100% when dealing with human nature, but this is one of the rare exceptions that I've seen. The hottest chick you've ever seen is riddled with insecurity. Yes, they have expectations of getting whatever they want by most everyone in the world. It gives them what they want. Pretty privilege is real. They expect to get what they want, but emotionally think they're not worthy of it. Therefore, ignoring them makes them a batshit crazy. Yeah, this is exactly it. I've been saying since day one, all women are insecure. The prettier they are, the more insecure they are. I remember a gal I was friends with way back in the day, and believe me, we're talking like fucking 20s, in her 20s, when I was in my 20s, and holy shit, if a bunch of us went out, a bunch of friends, and she didn't get hit on, oh my God, she went home so depressed, upset, and she was hot. No joke. There's a never-ending need for validation. Hot women will generally only hang out with other hot women for a few reasons. First, they pretend to be besties, but secretly hate each other. Hanging out is a status thing and reconnaissance to learn their enemy's weaknesses. What's the saying from Al Bundy? Don't try to understand women. Women understand women, they hate each other. Yeah, they're all competitive with each other. He says unattractive chicks are just as insecure, but they are much more aware of it. They have to work for things. They are wildly envious of the hot chicks and despise them. Yep. Not all, but a great many will mask their insecurity by intentionally masking themselves as unattractive as possible, so men will leave them alone and claim that they are above all that cosmetic beauty and are more real than the hot chicks. This reduces the risk of rejection. Translation, when you see these disgusting looking orangutan type of feminist types that have blue or green hair, overweight, covered in tattoos, the hoop nose ring, you all know what I'm talking about here, amongst many other things to make them look physically unattractive, putting aside their personality. That way they can be like, well, they can reject men before men reject them. And they hate good looking women. The only men with unattractive chicks are the simps and losers. Many will pretend to be male feminists, hoping that they will get them laid, but really, that just makes women hate them. They also drink soy and have crazy low testosterone levels. You left out the man bun and the skinny jeans. Yeah, exactly. He says, now for the real men. Again, guys, you're still here, pay attention. This is important, and he's right. The education system destroys men. As small children, they are forced to be quiet, sit still in the chair, and obey whatever silliness the teacher tells them. They are not permitted to think for themselves. They must blindly agree with whatever they are told. Any form of individuality is quickly punished. Yeah, it starts at a young age. Boys and girls learn differently. And by and large, who is the teacher of kids in school? Especially little kids. Female teachers. And a lot of these female teachers are feminists or feminist-leaning. And they're trying to raise future generation of boss babes, and they don't like the young guys. It's the fucking truth. And then there's teachers that when the guys get to high school, a lot of them end up hooking up with the guys. How fucked up is that? He says boys who buck the system are labeled the bad kid, given a diagnosis, then given drugs to make them docile and obedient. Yes, I was labeled the bad kid many times when I was young, guys. They didn't give me fucking drugs because my dad was a doctor, my mom was a nurse. Ha ha ha, don't start with the nurse shit. And, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. But, there are many challenges with me growing up, and I was in detention quite often, or the principal's office. Our school system destroys the souls of men, which makes them unprepared for dealing with the selfish, narcissistic women this same system produces. They are told the right way to treat women, and they believe the BS women tell them they want. Women hate the men who listen and obey. They want men who lead. Exactly. Whatever women say they want in guys, gentlemen do the opposite. And again, if they say you're an asshole, you're doing something right. Women want a man they can respect. However, that's generally not what they get. Women have been taught to go through the hoe phase in their 20s, which is their prime, and since women are generally emotional creatures, they lose the ability to be faithful to one man, and they get addicted to the chemicals and hormones released by the brain. In other words, now they sleep with enough guys, they can no longer pair bond. Yes. Women are averse to accountability, hence guilt and shame. As said before, they're like children who seek a new shiny object. Well, I many times have compared women to behaving like children, and most of you guys have experienced this on some level. Men are taught to be a good man, to be a provider, be faithful, be romantic, and care about the girl more than themselves. Yes, they are, and what happens to those guys? Women will marry these men, and while completely unaware that emotionally they despise them. Women seek out men like me, and again, the most powerful way to turn a woman on is to ignore them. The hotter they are, the more it turns them on. Yes, the indifferent guy, the guy that could give a fucking shit. Exactly. Sure, you're going to engage with them at some point, but you can give, and they know you can give a shit. Drives them nuts. It's amazing. Men are lied to about female nature their entire life. The movies portray utter nonsense about relationships. Men are told to be transparent and vulnerable. They are told that it's okay to cry. Is it any wonder women cheat on men today? He says, damn, I hate men like that. I just want to kick them in the jewels and tell them how life really works. Or you could be me on YouTube and read these stories and smack the shit out of them. And the majority of guys hate my guts, but you guys like me, so you show up every day. My 4%ers of the women out there. And I'm sure you 4%ers out there agree with a lot of this shit this guy's saying, whether you like it or not. He says, I was once messing around with an Indian chick. She took me to watch an Indian love story. Ugh, I almost threw up and left the movie before it was over. I would have left. No chick's worth that bullshit. You must have been having a slow month. Men are in the hardest situation they've ever been in since the dawn of mankind. Since man has walked the earth, men have had to be hard and strong. It was survival of the fittest. Life in the real world was dangerous for women, so they stayed at home and raised the kids. By the way, this idea that women are better parents than men is complete nonsense. Go to any prison and take a poll about how many men were raised by single moms. Then go to any successful man or woman and ask them who the strong influence in the house was. Exactly. This is the problem with so many single-parent households. The kids generally go with the mom. And the moms are generally, what I've observed, and the numbers don't lie, they're way easier on the boys because mothers are definitely more tougher on the girls. We've seen this. And the boys don't have that father there to give him a kick in the ass when he needs it, and this is what you get. Or you have households when the kids grow up in a two-parent household, mom and dad, and still mom runs the show, and mom's softer on the kids because she feels bad, or she wants them to like her. The mom says, oh, my daughter's my best friend, or some shit like that. And they don't set a good example, they don't lay down the law, and the dad doesn't step in when necessary. And again, this is what you have. You need the father to lead, but it's so rare. Men used to be men. They were strong, had high morals. You mean like not sleeping with married women? Is that what you're trying to say, high morals? Yeah, I'm not going to let that go. They protected women and children. Women made it with the strongest man because the chances of survival were higher. Just like in the animal kingdom. Yes, men have always been cheated on, but men there is no except. Yes, men have also always cheated, but for men there is no emotion involved. They can bang their secretary, then come home and be a loving dad and husband. Well, many women can go hook up with somebody and come home and pretend to be a loving mom and a wife. When women cheat, they cut the husband off sexually. They treat him disrespectfully. They often treat their kids poorly. When their affair is discovered, the fountain of tears flow freely. Then comes the Hobeg Handbook. Yes, it does. They say the following: I love you. It meant nothing. It only happened one time. You neglected me. It's all your fault. We can get through this. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. Women today don't understand that they have fought for nothing, nor have they won anything. What they have done has been gifted to them by men. If men wanted to make women barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, they would and could, and women could do nothing about it. For all the reasons listed above, and probably a few more, I forgot about men in the world today are absolutely fucked. I'm guessing 75 to 80% of modern women are incapable of a monogamous, healthy relationship. I agree with those numbers. I've made it clear there are good ones out there, but I'm not saying that even the good ones aren't capable of all these things. But there are some good ones out there, but just those numbers are small and are dwindling. But yeah, I agree, 75 to 80%, no freaking way. It says here, they can bail at any time they choose, take the house, the kids, hubby pays for child support, she takes half of everything that he has, and still he has to support the ex-wife like they were married. No-fault divorce means fuck the man. Yep. Men need to rise above all the bullshit they've learned their whole lives. They need to learn what it means to be an alpha. By the way, if a man has to tell others that he's an alpha, guess what? He's not an alpha. All right. It's like the king going around telling people he's the king. If a king has to tell people he's the king, he's not the fucking king. An alpha is a silent, strong, wise man who knows when to go into beast mode and can be incredibly violent to protect what is his and knows when to be gentle and loving. An alpha tells his woman what decisions she's allowed to make and what her parameters are. In other words, drawing up boundaries in the beginning of the relationship and enforcing the boundaries and walking if she crosses the boundaries and checking her. Yeah, right here. He demands respect by his demeanor and actions. In other words, he commands it, but he doesn't say it. If he has to verbally demand his woman to give him respect, he has already lost. An alpha makes his woman's toes curl in the sack, his kids listen to him and respect him. If raised properly and given proper attention, there is no need for violence with children. Yeah, my dad left a lot of things raising of the kids to my mom, but believe me, my dad was always in the background. And there was no my dad's word was law. Absolutely. And my mom loved him to the day he died. And believe me, my sister and I mostly did not cross him because we knew there'd be consequences. And there were a few times I got an ass whooping when I thought I didn't cross him. I would just break the rules and I'd get a fucking ass whooping. My dad was old school, so I got the belt up until I was like 10 years old. Shit, one time my sister was 15, and she disrespected my dad on the plane. We were coming back from a cruise, and right there on the plane, in front of all the passengers, this is 1995, smack. My dad smacked my sister right in the plane. Now, nowadays, people would lose their minds over that, but back then, and my sister never talked back to him ever again. I could call her up right now and say, hey, remember when Dad smacked the shit out of you 30 years ago? She'd laugh. Yep. Anyway. A daughter of a real alpha is much less likely to have her hoe phase and lose her virginity later in life. Men also need to be better participants at the ballot box. They need to stop blindly voting Democrat or Republican. Both parties are liars, cheats, and thieves. I agree. They need to research voting history for politicians and verdicts given by judges who are elected. They need to vote for candidates and judges who support men's rights. Women have vastly more solidarity than men, and they know politicians and judges will rule in their favor. Exactly. And that's a giant reason why we have the mess that we do in the family courts, or what comes after the rulings in the family courts. These fucking simp judges fall for the crocodile tears and all that. Politicians and judges know this and cater to the women. SSM, I know this was long, so if you choose not to run it, I'll understand. My goal is writing this was to wake men up and hopefully encourage them to retake what they've lost. Well, sir, I know you didn't think I'd read your story, but it was very good. Very good information. Information about women, about men, all that. Again, not fucking cool, and you were a scumbag in your youth for banging these married chicks. But I'm glad you stopped at some point, and if anything can come from that, and I'm sure you probably have a couple kids out there, is that you're sharing this information to all the guys out there of what they do and what can they do. And so guys out there can either, this will only reinforce why so many guys are walking away. All you guys have walked away from relationships and dating, all that, you're like, see? So this reinforces that. For the guys out there that are pickup artists and want to just bang chicks, well, now you know some tricks. Now you know it. And for the rest of the guys in the middle, relationship guys, but one obviously are what they call purple pilled, if you will, and have the knowledge but still do relationships, this will help you keep your eyes fucking open, and obviously, well, good luck to you. So anyhow, man, I appreciate the story. Again, I disagree with some of your life choices back in the day, but aside from that, this is good info. I really appreciate it. Backs up the things I talk about, and this will definitely help some guys out there. Not everybody's going to like you. I expect that, but, look, it doesn't, in my opinion, I don't give a shit about feelings. If there's good information, fine. I'm going to share it. We can all benefit from that. So appreciate that. And good luck with everything. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And guys, you got a good story to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.